Hi and welcome again. I'm Walt, and today our guest is the XRDA made by VXVtech and sent to us by Health Cabin. There it is on top of a G-box. And if there were one word that I would use to describe this particular RDA, it would be thoughtful. I'll show you why. Okay, here is the box that the VXVTech X-RDA comes in. Little spot up here showing you it's going to be a black one. And here we've got the dimensions. 29 high, 24 millimeters in diameter. It's all made out of stainless steel 304, and you can see it's made by VXVtech. And there's their website. It comes with extras. In here we've got O-rings and extra grub screws. In this bag we've got a couple of coils. Haven't used those yet. Have no idea what they're made out of. And here's one that I have been using. This is the squonk pin. I put the regular pin back in because that is the way it comes normally. Now, notice, obviously there's a hole in the bottom. And notice two little holes partway up the shaft in the side. I'll talk about what that does for us. That's just a thoughtful thing. Okay. And here is our RDA. A little logo on the front. Kind of a matte black finish. On the bottom I'm getting a lot of glare, but you can see the 510 pin does not protrude a whole lot. I don't know if this would necessarily be that great on a hybrid. I wouldn't put it on a hybrid anyway. So, taking the top cap off, check this out. The top cap screws off. Now that is different. And if we look into the top of the top cap, it's domed. And nicely domed at that. Looking at the drip tip, standard 510. Use any 510 you want on there. Got an O-ring on here so that as you tighten this thing down, the threading is butter smooth on this. But as you tighten it down, that O-ring causes drag, so that it doesn't spin too freely. And where that becomes important, watch my airflow hole. Instead of that barrel spinning, what this does is as you turn this down, see it? It's covering up that air hole. That it gives you infinite adjustment of airflow from one heck of a lot, quite frankly. Quite an open air, almost down to the point where it's cut off completely. So this is infinitely adjustable airflow. Now, one thing that some folks, a couple folks I heard complain about it a little bit, this sticks up. You got this knurling piece, and then you got a little space in between. Obviously that's purposeful. It's how the thing adjusts. But that may be an aesthetic that some people may not like. Pulling it apart. Okay, the second piece, the barrel. You can see a couple, I can try to get the lay, there we go, a couple flat flanges that are milled right into the sides of this thing. On the bottom of those, maybe you can see it, there are a couple little tabs. Those little tabs will fit right into the two little notches here on the sides. So when this, as you put this on, try to line it up, fairly straight, wiggle it around a little bit, and it'll snap down into position. And from there, it doesn't move anymore. It keeps your airflow in the perfect position. It keeps everything lined up. Just, again, thoughtful. Here in the center, you can see a couple of holes that they put in here. If you drip and do not squonk, what that's going to do is that's going to allow that juice to flow right down in there, down into this well underneath. And that's a pretty nice little well they got in there, pretty deep. It holds a fair amount of liquid. No doubt about it. Actually, you got to look down into here in the sides where the wicking actually goes. The posts themselves are T-shaped posts, and you can see that you set your coils on here, and the actual leads of the coil will come out the bottom, and you can actually get your clippers in here to clip it. Another thing that's just thoughtful, the way that they put in the grub screws. The grub screws are put in from the sides. That lines it up so if you're using a flat wire, it's not going to twist your wire. Again, I keep on saying this, thoughtful. Just a real nice touch there. Now, we put the barrel back on this thing, and yeah, let me get it. There, it snapped right into place first time. Here's another thing that's kind of interesting. I just thought this was really thoughtful. Look where those air holes fall. Those airflow holes are just skimming the top of those brackets for the coil, which means that you really can't make a mess out of installing the coils in here. Just so you get that coil up a little bit, okay, over top, so it's, so it's not touching and shorting out. Okay, 1-2 millimeters up in the air, you have plenty of airflow that's going to hit directly underneath that coil. Just real nice, again, thoughtful. Next up, we're going to attempt to build. So up to now, I've just been using a couple flat wire, plain wire, round wire, sorry, coils in here, and so I buzzed up some 228 36 parallel Clapton, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this coil upside down, hold it right here in the bottom, and then I'm going to cut these leads just a tad above that post. Now I'm going to take that coil, I'm going to put it on my coiling rod, put my other coil next to it, and trim these off pretty close to the same size. And again, because these leads will poke on through, it isn't incredibly critical that you get exactly the right size. You've got some leeway here. So now, okay, so I'm going to take those coil ends, place them right down into that two brackets. Use a provided Allen wrench and tighten those guys up. I like to use a coiling rod to just kind of keep it in place while I do it. Makes it a little bit easier. Get those tightened down, get some coil ends trapped in there. How are we doing for everybody being able to see? And then pull that up. Just a tad. That looks about right. Just a tad, just to get it up above that airflow. So you want to pull it up just about the width of the airflow. Okay, so now we'll repeat that process on the other side. Drop this into place. And really, as far as that goes, you don't even need to use a coil rod if you don't want to. You just kind of drop those in there and hold them in place with your finger. Tighten tighten them down. And now pull that one up just a hair to match the other one. And take the two, straighten them out. Get them about even with the edge of the posts. Looking pretty good. Not looking bad at all. Alright, so next we will cut ourselves a couple pieces of cotton. I do like to pull the skins off of them. Give them a nice little roll just to give them a round shape. And then of course pinch off the end real good. We can get that started in the coil. And there you have that. Twist and pull that through a little bit. Yeah, we can do it again. Another piece of cotton. I apologize if I'm not keeping this under the camera at all the time. I just cannot do it looking at a monitor. It's just not possible. Try to get as centered as I can under the camera, and then I've got to look at what I'm doing. I just haven't figured out how to do this kind of thing looking in a monitor yet. So, take this, get it started, drag and twist that through. Now, cutting it off, cutting the cotton off, I'm about down with the bottom ring, the bottom O-ring there. Use a fair amount of cotton. I do like to brush them out. Helps with the wicking. You see I'm brushing this out pretty good. It's got good sized wicking holes, but it's an RDA. And it's a side airflow RDA. Quite frankly, it does not leak. Or at least I haven't been able to make it leak, and I'm one of the worst over drippers on the planet. And quite often an over squonker as far as that goes. Okay, take my tweezers, take the ends of that cotton, and just ease them down into those holes. The wicking holes there. Oh, so nice. Alright. Do the same thing on the other side. Take the ends, place them right down in there. Touching the bottom. Still nice and loose. Okay, take our barrel, line it up, and that time it didn't completely snap down, so I'll turn it down, and there we go, give it a little twist, and it snaps right down. Okay, from here it's just priming those babies and having a vape, so I think we can do that off camera, and we'll talk about it. Okay, talk about it segment. First item on the list is a couple of cleanup or housekeeping items. Number one, I said that I was going to talk a little bit more about, excuse me, that squonk pin and what that does with the two holes on the side is when you squonk, that fills up the reservoir only. It does not squonk up through the bottom of the build deck, which is just a real nice functionality. Fills that area in the bottom up that reservoir real nice. Obviously, then it can wick on up into the cotton, etc. Just a real nice little feature there. And the second thing is, I noticed when I was editing it, I said that it was a 510 drip tip. No. Sorry about that. That's an 810. It's a goon style. It does not have an O-ring on the drip tip itself. The O-ring is inside of the receptacle. So those are the two things that I caught. There may be more, I don't know. Any rate, the XRDA, build quality, A+, machining, A+. Those two little platforms that they machined in there, they not only allow the thing to snap into place and lock into place, but they also limit the airflow in there, A+. That build deck, the simplicity of the build deck, how easy it is to put the coils in, A+. The fact that the airflow, goes directly above those two little platforms for the coils. Again, another A+. I took a look through the airflow and I can just see the bottom of my coil sitting in there. I mean, that is just sweet positioning, and there's nothing to it. It's a real piece of cake. Clouds, A+. This thing does a real nice job with the clouds. Flavor, A+. It really is on point on flavor as well. The size of the thing. Now we're getting into more subjective terms. I like it. It's on the small side. The inner chamber is definitely on the small side. In my humble opinion, that has to do a lot with the flavor as well. And of course, that dome top they got on there. That knurled piece, with what one could call a gap between that and the barrel. Again, subjective. Some might see that as an aesthetic issue. I didn't know whether I liked it or not at first. The more I used it, the more I fell in love with just the way it vapes. And quite frankly, it looks just fine to me now. And that may be more a function of how it vapes than anything else. In regard to the aesthetics, they do make it in stainless steel as well as the black. And I think that's about it. I can highly recommend this. And again, I thank Health Cabin for sending me this. And again, hope you enjoyed, and hope to see you the next time.